Japan has one of the lowest rates of central heating adoption among wealthy nations. Many Japanese homes, even now, rely primarily on localized heating rather than a single system warming every room to the same temperature. And yet, visitors who spend a winter evening in a Japanese home consistently describe something unexpected. It feels warmer than the heavily heated Western home they left behind, running its thermostat 2 or 3 degrees higher. Less heating technology, more felt warmth. That contradiction is the entire subject of this video, and the explanation has nothing to do with willpower or getting used to the cold. It has to do with a distinction most Western homes have never been built around: the difference between air temperature and the sensation of being warm, which are measured differently by the body and produced by almost entirely different conditions. Habit 3 targets a single, specific part of the body that thermal comfort research identifies as disproportionately responsible for whether a person feels warm or cold overall, and almost no Western home addresses it directly. Habit 5 costs under $20 and can visibly affect a heating bill within the first month of trying it. Here is the science behind the paradox. Thermal comfort researchers distinguish between air temperature, what a thermostat measures, and mean radiant temperature, what your skin actually senses from nearby surfaces and localized heat sources. A room can register 21 degrees on a thermostat and still feel cold if the walls, floor, and furniture surrounding a person are significantly colder, because the body is constantly losing heat to cold surfaces nearby, regardless of what the air itself measures. Raising the thermostat further heats a large volume of air that mostly never touches the person sitting in it, while doing very little to warm the surfaces actually in contact with their skin. It is, thermally speaking, one of the least efficient ways to make a specific person feel warm. Japan solved this differently, out of necessity, long before it became a design philosophy. Warm the person, not the whole house. The first habit is the kotatsu, a low table with a heat source built into its underside, covered by a blanket that traps the warmth around the legs and lower body of anyone sitting at it. A room with a kotatsu can sit at a genuinely modest ambient temperature, while the person underneath the blanket experiences significant, sustained, localized warmth, because the heat is being delivered directly to the body rather than dispersed into a large volume of air first. This is the clearest possible illustration of the entire principle. Heating the person is dramatically more efficient than heating the space around them. You do not need an authentic kotatsu to apply this principle. A small space heater positioned to warm your legs and lower body while you work or watch television, combined with a blanket that traps that warmth close to you, achieves a meaningful portion of the same effect for a fraction of the energy cost of raising the whole room's temperature by several degrees. The second habit is warming the floor rather than the air above it. Traditional Japanese homes place enormous emphasis on floor-level comfort, historically through underfloor heating systems and thick floor coverings, because a cold floor radiates cold upward constantly, chilling the feet and legs regardless of how warm the air several feet above the ground happens to be. Most Western homes heat from radiators or vents positioned at wall height or above, warming the upper portion of a room while the floor, the surface every person in the room is in direct, continuous contact with, remains significantly colder. A thick rug over hard flooring, particularly in the areas where people actually sit or stand, addresses a meaningful portion of this gap without any structural change. The feet and lower legs, kept warm, disproportionately affect how warm the rest of the body feels overall. The third habit, the specific body part almost no Western home addresses: the hands and wrists. Thermal comfort research has repeatedly identified the extremities, and the wrists specifically, as carrying a disproportionate influence on the brain's overall assessment of whether the body is warm or cold. Blood vessels sit close to the skin's surface at the wrist, and the body uses temperature signals from this specific location as one of its primary inputs for whole-body thermal regulation. Cold hands and wrists send a strong, "the environment is cold" signal to the brain, even when the core of the body is perfectly comfortable. The Japanese yutanpo, a traditional hot water bottle still widely used, is applied specifically to this principle. Held or placed near the hands and wrists for even a few minutes, particularly before bed or during a stationary task, it delivers a strong, localized warmth signal that shifts the brain's overall thermal assessment far more efficiently than raising the room's air temperature ever could. A simple hot water bottle, held for 10 minutes on a cold evening, produces a felt warmth effect disproportionate to its tiny energy cost. The fourth habit is layering with wool and silk against the skin, not synthetic fabric. Japanese winter clothing culture has historically relied heavily on wool and silk as base layers, both of which trap a layer of warm air against the skin while allowing moisture to escape. Critical, because a body that feels cold is frequently a body that is slightly damp from trapped, unable to evaporate perspiration, which accelerates heat loss significantly. Synthetic fleece, while soft and often marketed as warm, traps moisture against the skin rather than allowing it to escape, which can leave a person feeling colder over several hours than a thinner wool or silk layer would. A wool or silk base layer under normal clothing, even just at home, retains warmth more effectively hour over hour than a single thick synthetic layer, without requiring the room itself to be any warmer at all. The fifth habit, the one under $20, managing humidity, not just temperature. Air that is too dry accelerates heat loss from the skin through evaporation, which is a significant part of why homes running dry, forced air heating systems often still feel cold despite a high thermostat reading. Traditional Japanese homes, historically built with more natural ventilation and less reliance on forced air heating, tend to maintain higher relative humidity in winter than tightly sealed, centrally heated Western homes. Humid air at a given temperature consistently feels warmer to the skin than dry air at the exact same temperature, because moisture in the air slows the rate at which the skin loses heat through evaporation. A basic humidifier, run in the room used most in the evening, allows the thermostat to be set several degrees lower while the room continues to feel just as warm, often producing a heating bill reduction noticeable within the first billing cycle. 5 habits. None of them require a renovation, a new heating system, or a higher energy bill. The Japanese home was never fighting the cold with more heat. It was addressing the specific, narrow set of conditions that actually determine whether a person feels warm, a distinction the West largely never made, defaulting instead to the single, expensive lever of raising the whole house's air temperature and hoping it worked. Which of these 5 are you trying this winter? Tell me in the comments. And if someone in your life complains about their heating bill every single year without their home ever actually feeling warm, send this to them before the next cold snap. I will see you in the next one.